actually vet our sponsors. We don't just take their money and run like a butter bar lieutenant lost on the land nav course. Are you finally ready to plant your flag and claim your territory? Maybe it's time to use that VA loan to buy a home. Or hell, maybe you're looking to refinance and put some extra cash in your pocket for more questionable life decisions. Either way, the Veterans Mortgage Source, powered by Canopy Mortgage, has your six. Look, buying a home or refinancing can feel like getting overrun on a bad op. Chaotic, confusing, and full of obstacles that make no damn sense. That's where Corey and his team come in. They're like the QRF of home loans, ready to pull you out of the chaos and guide you to the best program for you. And trust me, they'll answer all your questions. Yeah, even the dumb ones. Whether you're a salty vet or fresh out of barracks still trying to figure out where your TA-50 went. Great service, solid rates, and a team that actually understands the military life. That's why all of us here at Veteran Trash Talk trust them to do right by every veteran in their family. Ready to lock it in? Give Corey a call or shoot him a text at 808-699-7874. That's 808-699-7874. Don't wait. Unless you like overpaying and getting treated like an FNG. The Veterans Mortgage Source is powered by Canopy Mortgage, LLC. All loans are subject to credit and property approval.
Hey, what's up, Mental Health Nation? Hope everybody's having a great Monday and you had an awesome weekend. We have a really great show today. I'm super excited. As you can see, we got two guests today. And so it's going to be an awesome show, and we'll get to our guests here in a second. But hi, Lynn. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Spring break week was last week, and this last weekend.
Nice.
We can
Yeah,
talk
we
about
have
that
spring
after
break.
we do the whole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have spring break coming up this week. We actually fly out on Thursday to Finland, up to the Arctic Circle, to Santa's Village. So that'll be a lot of fun. Shout out to U.S. Army Marines for tuning in, and everybody else that's tuning into the show. Be sure to throw your comments out there if you're on Facebook. I'm super excited tonight because it's my first live TikTok show. I was got approved to be on TikTok now, so I'm super excited about that. And you can follow Mental Health Warrior 46 on my TikTok to watch the show. But along with that, I want to talk about Reads Across America. As you know, it's a great program and what they do and memorialize the veterans out there. And you can scan that QR code up there, and for as little as $10, you can donate a wreath anonymously, or you can donate it to a family member or a friend that maybe has needs to be memorialized. And I'm super proud to be part of them. And it's pretty amazing program that they have. Along with that, Reads Across America Radio replays my podcast at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. And it's super easy to find. Just download the iHeart Radio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app, and search for Reads. For Reads Across America Radio, for not only mine and Lynn's great podcast that you're seeing right now tonight, but all the other great podcasts and the music they have. We had 10th Mountain up there in that upper right-hand corner. We'll throw the QR code in the, not the QR code, we'll show the promotion code for them, and also the website up in their chat where you can save 10%. As you know, I was a big Scotch drinker for a lot of years, but they kind of got me switched to bourbon for a little bit. And they got some really great bourbon. The one they age in the sherry barrels is absolutely amazing, and you need to try it out. As you saw in the beginning with the promo for Veterans Mortgage, you can scan that QR code. And one thing we did talk about is PCS to Paradise. And so if you're looking for a place to go, they're out there in Hawaii. And so maybe you just want to get away from the cold weather. Maybe you just want to go somewhere else. Hey, scan that QR code and start looking for that dream home out there in Hawaii. Go out there and enjoy that great weather. But with that, I want to thank everybody again once for tuning in. We have two great guests with Ron and Steve, and we're going to get to them in a minute because I'm going to let them tell you why they're here and what they do. But with that, Lynn, I know you just came back from spring break. I heard you got busted out of jail, twice?
So I have all the accounts I got on Facebook jail. I can't post on there. And I am on TikTok jail. I can't go on live. So we're not live on my TikTok right now. I'm kind of sad about that. It was on my alt accounts. on my, my Finsta accounts or whatever, and that affected my main accounts because it's connected on the same phone. So, but I had a good time. I last week I did go to Vets on Tap, and I haven't gone in a long time, and that's where I met Ron. And Vets on Tap is one of these great networking events that I talk about all the time here in Jacksonville. And what they do is they get veterans together to network. It's helping veterans who are transitioning out of the military and veterans who are in search of jobs. Not only that, also spouses as well. So there's a lot of opportunities there for networking. And I was able to do that this past week, finally, with Brooke, who is also my hike support coordinator with Irreverent Warriors. So I was excited to see them. Ron didn't go last time. I think you were probably at the Duval Council, Veterans Council meeting, or it was going on at the same time. So, and then over the weekend, had a lot of fun with friends, did some raves and pool parties. And then now I'm home. And I had to go back to work. So kids had one extra day for spring break. So today, they didn't have school today because it was a teacher day. And so they go
Okay.
back to school tomorrow. So spring break is over here in Florida. So that's how it went.
So back to the grind.
Right. Yep.
And I didn't say that in the beginning. I just want to say thoughts and prayers out to our producer Chris. He's going through some family issues out there, so please keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers this week. With that, I want you, the two gentlemen, my two screen. I don't know who wants to go first, either Ron or Steve, but please introduce yourself to our audience. Let us know a little bit about yourself. Steve, I know you're a Navy veteran, but Ron, I didn't get your information. Are you used to be in the military too?
Yes, and thank you, and hello to everybody out there. Thank you for allowing me to go first, so at least I can bring in the Air Force the right way.
Oh, there you go.
So hi everybody, my name is Ron Hasty, and I am the Veteran and First Responder Outreach Coordinator for the University of Florida Dr. Leon Haley Brain Wellness Program. And what we do is we just treat veterans and first responders that have had mild to moderate traumatic brain injuries or concussions. And we have a program here that is pretty fascinating, and you'll get to learn more about it as the program goes on further. But like I said, I was in the Air Force 22 years and had a wonderful time. And I was fortunate to be one of those that joined the military to see the world, because I was a crew chief. And I was a crew chief for an aircraft that was large enough that when it would fly off station, I would be able to fly along with the aircraft. And I got to see the world. So I had a wonderful time. And, I'm looking forward to now telling you about this chapter of what I do and how I help veterans and first responders. So with that, Steve.
Thank you so much, Ron. And definitely a shout out to Reefs Across America. I've been involved with the St. Johns County Veteran Treatment Court for about 7 years. And every Christmas, we go down to the National Cemetery in St. Augustine, technically the oldest city in the United States. And it's just a great way to pay tribute to those who have sacrificed for this amazing country. So thank you for Reefs Across America. My name is Steve Pappas. I'm a Navy veteran, served from 93 to 97. Presently the director of the UF Health Haley Brain Wellness Program. And truly an honor, Cliff, to meet you, and Len, you, and Chris, you as well. But we're here to tell a story. And really our goal is to cast a larger net so veterans and first responders that may be suffering from these invisible wounds know where they can go for help. And I want to preface all of this by saying we remove all financial barriers to our care model. So we're not, Ron and I are not paid based on recruiting people into our program. The UF Health Haley Brain Wellness Program is actually part of a larger network. It's called the Avalon Action Alliance. The founders of Home Depot, Arthur Blank and Bernie Marcus, God rest his soul, he passed a few months ago, Bernie Marcus did. And but they saw years ago, 8-9 years ago, the warriors coming back from overseas with these invisible wounds. And they went on a mission. And the mission was, how do we prevent veteran suicide? And what they determined after a lot of research is really there's 3 pillars. First pillar is mild to moderate traumatic brain injuries. mild or a brain injury, concussion. TBI can intimidate people, but that's the first pillar. Second pillar is Warrior Path, and that is for post-traumatic growth. And that's a peer-led post-traumatic growth program. It's non-clinical. It's in person for about 7 days and then lasts for about 30 days in total. And then the third is Warrior Heart, which is substance abuse. And we have two locations, one in Texas, one in Virginia, where it's inpatient. And we get the veteran and first responders stabilized before going through a treatment program like ours. And Avalon has been an amazing partner. UF Health had our program going on now for about 4 years. We're getting into year 4 of our program. We received a grant from the Avalon Action Alliance, as well as donations from others to build this program. We're named after Dr. Leon Haley. He saw the need for our program in Jacksonville, Florida. Ironically, this is a 2020 census, but it's estimated we think it's just over 115,000 veterans in Duval County alone. And it's a lot more with the surrounding counties around us. So he saw that we needed to bring this program here, partnered with Avalon. UF has 2 big campuses, one in Gainesville, one in Jacksonville. It made more sense to bring it here because the community and who we serve here.
So I have a question, Steve.
Yes, sir.
So if I'm a veteran and I'm going to the VA, do they get referred to your US Health through the VA, or is it through another referral process, or do people come see you through TRICARE or other means?
Great
How do
question.
they get that referral? Yeah.
Great question, Cliff. We do get a lot of referrals from the VA.
Okay.
Some we would like to get it through the Community Cares program, but a lot of them are just, they know we'll take care of the veteran, and they've seen the outcomes. We're very close with our VA partners here in Jacksonville, as well as in Gainesville. Ron spends some time down in Tampa as well, really fostering those referral relationships. A lot of the referrals, they come from the veteran or first responders primary care physician.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a big focus on partnering, not just with UF primary care, but also other large physician groups in the Northeast Florida counties to get those referrals. So it's creating that awareness.
Yeah, that's really great. So I know we were visiting before the show, and of course I told you that I tried to unalive myself. There's certain words we can't say because of TikTok, and the S word is one of them, so we have to say unalive. But I also have a TBI, and before I retired, I spent about 1.5 years at the Intrepid Center there at Fort Belvoir, going through all that. And of course, with my TBI, I have ADHD, and that created a lot of issues in my life. And one thing that it did, and you don't realize it because you know how it is with ADHD, is you start self-medicating yourself, right? And maybe you're drinking more, maybe because you just don't understand what's going on with your brain. And of course, I'm a motivational speaker and I travel around. And one of the things I have a hard time with is names. Or when I get tired, my brain just kind of goes sideways. And we've seen it on the show, on the podcast before. And I forget what we're talking about or things. And I have, notes here. And Lynn does a good job. Of course, it's here in Italy and it's, 10:30 at night. Of course, we haven't gone through the time change. Once we go to the time change, it'll be 11. So, for a lot of veterans out there who maybe don't realize they have a TBI. Yeah. Because a lot of people out there, they think, oh, well, I had a concussion or I had post-concussion syndrome or something like that. They don't realize that they probably do have a TBI. And I was watching a thing today on a scientist that has discovered that veterans that have been in an explosion, in an IED attack, the effects that it has on the brain is different. And he was showing this. He showed pictures of car accidents, people that have been in car accidents and brain injuries, and people that have been IED attacks, and how different the brain injury is for the veteran. And I just think it's so very important that we have this conversation today because, it's very hard, and it's very, it's a tough thing to go through because it's hard to talk about.
Well, what people don't understand is concussion is a traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
So if you hit your head, like I fell down 2 ladder wells on the aircraft carrier and I hit my head. They classified that as concussion/TBI. So. Yeah.
And you're 100% right. And Cliff, just to name a few of the symptoms for your listeners, because it is sometimes you're like, nah, maybe I'm just having a bad day, or maybe I just got up because I didn't sleep enough. But anxiety, balance difficulties, coordination difficulties, depression, dizziness, irritability, light sensitivity, sleep disturbance, slowed thinking. And Cliff, I want to share a story with you. Over the last 7 years, I've survived 2 horrible car accidents. And the beauty of this program, it doesn't have to be combat related or your service, the reason, the status of your discharge. It does not matter because that may have been caused by the TBI.
Yes.
But I will say 4 years ago, this coming Memorial Day, I had my second horrible car accident. I let a neighbor drive my big Jeep with the doors off, top off. We were in the neighborhood and he asked to drive my Jeep. And I said, of course, no problem. And he was driving really fast. I was in the passenger seat, did not put my seatbelt on. He hit a curb, ejected me from the Jeep, cracked my head open, and then I got ran over. And
Dang.
I'm literally a walking miracle, and obviously got life flighted. And I want to give you the short version, considering the show. About 30 days later, my middle daughter, who was still living with me, came up to me, and this is very important because it takes family to really get the help. She said, "Dad, something's wrong with you. You're usually happy. You're not. You're repeating yourself all the time. You're forgetful. Please get help." And I have 3 amazing daughters. They're my everything. And when they say something, I listen. And luckily, my doc had heard about UF starting this TBI program. And so I moved forward with it. And I went through the program. It saved and changed my life. It sounds like hocus pocus. It sounds like it can't be real. But Ron knew me before I went through the program. And he got to see me after, and obviously worked a lot together since then. But it's a special program. You mentioned NICO. So the gentleman, Dr. Jim Kelly, that created the protocol up at NICO, Bernie Marcus actually asked him to create our treatment protocol. And so he created this protocol, which has core treatment, like your core medical traditional treatment, neurology, neurophysical therapy, speech language pathology, behavioral health, and case management. And this is for our 3-week IOP. And then we wrap around integrative therapies, which would include art therapy, equine therapy, mindfulness, somatic movement, music. And it's really that integrative multidisciplinary approach with an intensive 3-week. I mean, it's almost 90 hours of clinical treatment in 3 weeks. It made all the difference. And it helped me find the light I was looking for. It starts with a 3-day evaluation. And then from that 3-day evaluation, we determine if you're a good candidate for the 3-week intensive outpatient program.
Yeah. That's one thing. When I went through mine, obviously I went through all that testing and some things I tested extremely well on because I'm a super intelligent guy. And then other things that actually shocked me. And one of the things I got diagnosed with was ADHD because of my TBI. And once I got that diagnosis, it really made sense to me because I could never actually finish things. I could start a million different things. And I made a video about this. It's been a while because I do a mental health break video every day. But I didn't do it today because I didn't feel like it. But I talked about it one day because I've learned now to stop when it happens because it's just reoccurring. But one day I went upstairs to get a suitcase because we were getting ready to travel. That turned into straightening up the storage space, and that turned into that, and that turned into that. And then finally I just had to sit down and stop myself because I would never stop. And the same thing with thoughts or things before I go to bed, I had to learn. Yes, VTT, Big Girl said slacker. I had to learn to stop myself. And, I would not sleep at night because I have to finish my tasks before I went to sleep. Well, if I started 50 tasks, I'm trying to finish them all before I go to bed. And I think for people who have that, who don't understand where that's coming from, it's tough. But once I figured out that's what was going on, of course, then I worked with a psychologist, a psychiatrist, whomever, to learn how to realize it, recognize it, and then stop that behavior.
That's the key. And that's where going through a program like the UF's Brain Wellness Program, the providers teach you the tools.
So
But one, they teach you how to recognize it, right? So you have a TBI. Do I explain it to people that have not had a TBI? Someone without a TBI has a fuse about that big. And with the TBI, it's about that. And that doesn't mean a fuse to anger. It's a fuse to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But you just kind of, Cliff, you know what I'm talking about. You recognize when it's starting to wind up,
Yeah.
and that's when we start to implement the tools and the techniques to really keep your central nervous system kind of in check.
Yeah.
So I
Go
have
ahead.
a question. Wait, go ahead, Ron, and then I'll go after you.
Okay, sorry about that. This is my first time using this, and I couldn't see that app that you use to wave the hand to say you have a question. Okay, so anyway, having to go back to the concussion itself. One of the unique things that I have an opportunity to do, and that is because I'm the outreach person, I get to travel around talking to people about concussions and about symptoms and things. And a couple of things that I've realized is that number one, a lot of people don't realize they've had a concussion, even though they had one, because they don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that you have to have your head hit something to actually make it a concussion. So I've asked people, you ever had a concussion? And I've gotten, no, I haven't. And I'd say, well, you ever been in a car accident? Well, yeah, I've been in a car accident. And I said, nothing happened. He said, well, I broke my neck. You broke your neck? Yeah, because my head, it whiplashed and went back and forth. Okay, what was happening was your brain was actually concussed with your skull, because they would say, well, I didn't hit the windshield or I didn't hit my steering wheel. But those were some of the things I got. And then there was another guy who was in the Army, and he said he never had a concussion, but his job was in artillery. So he's out there pulling the lanyard on those guns, and it was the blast wave that he was getting concussed with. So he wasn't hitting any solid object, but he did have his brain get concussed from the blast waves. So those are a couple of things. And then, of course, when Steve went into some of the symptoms, because a lot of times we don't think, a lot of those things have something, like when you were, one of the symptoms is depression. So a lot of times we don't think that a concussion will affect me being depressed. However, one of the unique opportunities I have is that I get to actually talk to everybody, before they come to the program and then after. And some of them would say things like, I've never been depressed before. And all of a sudden I'm so depressed and I'm all these things, and people are telling me this, or my anxiety level is so high, things happen. And when you look at, some of the symptoms of a concussion, almost each one of those could be a different provider that you could see, but not knowing that they're all wrapped around a concussion. So, and that's what, I get the opportunity when I'm out and I'm talking to people, I can tell them about these things. And once they've seen it, basically, we have a little card here that kind of talks about a lot of the concussion symptoms. Then they're looking through and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been diagnosed with that. I've got that. I have a problem with that, and I have a problem with this. And it's like, oh my God, these things that, it is affecting me. And then we get, when Steve even mentioned about his daughter, was the one that actually, Steve knew when he tells me the story, he knew something was wrong.
I did. I would get vertigo every single time I went from laying down to sitting up. So every morning I woke up, the room would spin. It would just be like this reminder. I'm like, I'll just rub dirt on it and get back in the game. It'll go away.
And true to form, like most, because the difficult part about our job is trying our patients that have always been told you got to do with what you got. Hey, I need more of this. I'm sorry, you can't have that. You just got to do it. So when I'm talking to veterans and I'm talking to first responders, they always don't have enough stuff. And it's always, hey, make do with what you got. Take care of yourself. Well, I got to do this. I'm sorry, I can't allow you to do that. We got to do this. So that's our patient type. So a lot of them, what they do is just like what Steve did. He just incorporated that dizziness into his daily lifestyle. So he knew it was gonna be dizzy. So he's like, okay, when I wake up, I got to sit up, wait a few minutes, and then I get to go start my day. And that's what he would do, as opposed to, hey, that doesn't seem right. Maybe I should get that fixed. And a lot of times we don't do that. So, and that again is, some of the things that we have to do, and we have to let people know it's okay. Something is wrong, and there's something you can do about it. You can get it fixed.
Right.
And that's great. Go ahead.
I kind of wanted to just confirm about the program, because I remember you talking about it, Ron. We've known each other for a couple years now, and you actually came out and did a booth for IW for one of our events. I wanted to just confirm. So you have to be a veteran. You have to be a first responder. The program is free for them. They're taken care of. And if they qualify for the 3-week inpatient thing, they get a full evaluation and they can take it to their doctor. Now, they don't necessarily need a referral, do they? Or can they just walk in and say, "Hey, I'm a veteran. I got a TBI," and say, "I live in Georgia. Can I come and see y'all?"
So let me just back up. I want to make sure we don't use the word free, because we do have, because we remove all financial barriers to care, but we don't want to be looked at as inducing care, because we do bill the patient's insurance if they have it, just to help extend our runway for sustainability. I'm sorry to have to clarify that, but
Yeah.
No, that's business.
That's why I asked that. That's why I asked
No
that
problem.
question.
So, but you're right. We remove all those financial barriers. We make the veteran aware of that once they've come through the application process. But our core is in Jacksonville, but we have veterans from all over the United States that come to Jacksonville. We have 5 other TBI centers around the country, like Philadelphia, UNC Chapel Hill. We have Share up in Atlanta. We have them all over the place. So if you're in Georgia and you want to come, if it depends on their insurance company, if we need a referral, but our team can walk them through that process.
Okay.
We've thought about this from A to Z. So our intake specialist, think about it. Like, I went through it. I was told I had to go get all these records, bring it here, but the intake coordinator really helped me go out and grab those. You sign a release of information. Our Deidre, our intake coordinator, will go out there, help gather all that information. If there is a referral required, Brianna McGall, our referral coordinator, will help get the required stuff.
That's one thing interesting, because before I was referred to in the Intrepid Center at Fort Belvoir, when I was coming off active duty, it was quite a bit of a process, because they look at your records, they interview you, they decide if you're a candidate, because for the Army and the Intrepid Center, obviously you're there because you have a TBI, obviously, or some type of injury, but it's all state-of-the-art care, and that's what they are. And the one doctor I saw, she was a functional doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting. So one thing that I found out about myself, and I'm sure you guys know about this, is I was taking vitamin D on the East Coast, Upper East Coast, and my vitamin D levels were low. And she thought that was a little weird. But come to find out, I have that gene in my body that if something has an artificial coating on it, my body expels it, doesn't absorb it. And it was through this testing and the fact of her being a functional doctor for many, many years that she determined this through testing that I had this issue. So whether if it's medication, vitamins, or something like that, if it has an artificial coating on it, my body doesn't absorb it; it expels it.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is good, because we do, and part of the 3-day evaluation, and really that 3-day evaluation, I call us the hope dealers, because that's exactly when they sat down with me on day 3 and said, "Listen, Steve, we think we can help you. Like neurology, this is what we see. PT, we see this. Speech language, we see this. Behavioral health, this." I was like, "Oh, that was when they delivered the light at the end of the tunnel for me."
Yeah.
And it is, just to have that hope alone, it does take a lot to take 3 weeks off of work and come through this program.
Sure. Yeah.
But those 3 days, you can just take those 3 days. At least you have, you understand what's wrong. We would love if you get qualified. We have about an 85% conversion rate from 3-day eval to the IOP. But we really want you to take advantage of that care and in that dosing. Where you went through, Cliff, that's the same dosing. Dr. Jim Kelly also created that programming up there.
Yeah.
Intrepid.
Right.
And I have had Intrepid's amazing. And I'll tell you, the work that the VA is doing at the polytrauma centers is absolutely amazing. I went down to Tampa, spent some time with the medical director there. I was blown away at what I saw. They just have so much demand, and they don't have enough. They can't deliver on the demand. So that's where our network is coming and being developed. And I do want to highlight that starting in September of this year, all 6 TBI centers are participating in a multi-site clinical trial. We use patient-reported outcome measures that are recommended from the AMA, American Medical Association, and are recognized. And we're seeing our TBI scores improve they call it a Cohen. I don't want to get nerdy on you, but it's a Cohen D, a statistical significance of improvement. And we actually just had an abstract published, and we're presenting that at the American Academy of Neurology. Dr. Vaughn Bryant, our neuropsychologist, is next month. which is a big deal.
Yeah, that's amazing. I will tell you that when I was going, I used to call it the eye gym, right? Where you go to the eye therapy,
Yep. Yes.
and
Yep.
it was amazing because they did the test before, and I don't remember what my score is. I'll just say, for lack of a better term, a 14. And after about a year of so, and my eyes would get physically tired at going to the eye gym, right? You sit down in front of a screen and you have to look and do different things and say, it's a whole bunch of different programs they did. But I improved to like 18 or 20. And,
Yes.
it was a huge improvement. And I think sometimes people forget that your eyes are actually a muscle and you can actually
Yeah,
improve
they're-
them.
Yep. The
It-
way. Yeah.
yeah. And it
So
was
right.
just one of those. And here's something else, my hearing. I wear hearing aids. I have to take them out when I have my headphones on because they make noise. But, getting the hearing aids and wearing the hearing aids, I lost my hearing in the explosion. Makes a big difference also. And, once I got those hearing aids, it made a big difference in my life and the technology around it. But it all goes back to my brain injury and fixing those and trying to get neurologically everything rewired and working as well again as it can. It's not going to be 100%, but you can make yourself a heck of a lot better by life changing life choices, as you go through your treatment.
Yeah, completely. I will say, compared to where I was almost 4 years ago, it is night and day difference. Like, I don't take any meds.
I don't
take
either.
three meds. I take: sleep, nutrition, and exercise. Maybe a little too much exercise, but it's just how I keep everything balanced.
Yeah.
And it's all due to this program. I can't emphasize the integrative therapies enough. When I was a kid, I loved to draw, as most of us did as children. But I'll tell you, I hadn't picked up a crayon and colored in 25, 30 years. And so I go into the art therapy is like the ninja of the program. And when our therapist started turning over colors and telling me to draw what I thought of, it sorry, but it kind of blew my mind. So I'll give you an example. She flipped over the color blue, and I promise I'm going to be right back.
Chris,
Told me to pick up the color blue.
I was just say, Steve, are you okay? You just left the show.
our producer is a Marine, so he said, "Wait, you color with crayons? I thought you just."
That's why we were laughing.
Thanks, Chris. But I'll just show you really quick. So they went through the exercise. So she turned over the color blue, and she said, "Draw whatever comes to mind." And I drew the ocean because that's my happy place. I spent a lot of time in the water and on the beach. Then she flipped over the color green. It made me think of my daughters and my 3 daughters coming off the kite. She flipped over yellow, and that's my faith. And then she flipped over the color red. And I'll tell you, it was like something hit me right in the eyes. I could never articulate it before. But it's this red monster that's inside of me that has almost come out a few times. It never has. Mm-hmm. But it was protecting my daughters and myself. And I had never been able to illustrate that. So what I thought with my warrior mask, because I did have 9 staples to kind of pull my head back together, but it also represents keeping the red monster inside. Yeah. So the art therapy was the ninja.
It's especially if you take a TBI and you have PTSD, that really can help you struggle with a lot of things because with post-traumatic stress syndrome, those triggers can happen in a moment, in an instant, in a second.
Right.
And I was at Pentagon 9/11. I spent 18 hours there, looking for victims, and that was my unaliving event a year later. But those triggers don't go away. And when you have a TBI and then you're dealing with PTSD on top of it, it's just another layer that you have to deal with. And when those triggers happen, it's like I always say, it's the most vivid dream you ever had, and it comes back in a second. And you're right back in that moment. It's a smell, a sound, a rocket in your windshield, it's anything. And you have to have a lot of different tools to be able to deal with it. And the same with your brain injury. You have to do a lot of different things to cope with it. And it's not always the same every day because every day is different. And we're all different people. One thing I talk about with recovery is a lot of people, if they're a recovering alcoholic or recovering addict or something, if you're recovering PTSD or whatever it is you're recovering from, if you have a relapse, I don't take a relapse as a negative. I never have. All it does, it gives me a new starting point. And it doesn't matter if you were alcohol-free for 10 years, you're alcohol-free for 3 weeks, drug-free, whatever. If you relapse, look at why you did that. And then that gives you a new starting point. It doesn't make it less of what you did before in the past. It just gives you a new starting point, and you have to learn to start that journey again. And maybe instead of going straight down the recovery, maybe you should have turned left or right. And so, I always say that all the time is, because everybody has setbacks in life, no matter what it is. I mean, Steve, you talked about your car accidents. Of course, I know Lynn and I both, and Ron, we've all had setbacks in our life, and it's how you deal with those setbacks in a positive manner. And everything that you guys do and everything that everybody does for veterans and everybody out there that we do for our podcast and stuff is just to get people to know that it's okay not to be okay. We say that all the time, but it really is. 95% of the time, I'm a very happy-go-lucky guy. I'm like you, Steve. I'm an avid workout. I do anywhere between 200 and 300 push-ups a day, sit-ups. I run. I go to the gym. I do a lot of things to keep myself busy because it's important for my health. And I'm a big naturalist. I make all my herbalist. I make all my medications. I don't really go to the doctor much, and that's my own choice. And that was a journey that I went on with my doctor to go down that road. And so it's just very important just to know that life will always have ups and downs, and that's okay. But when it stops being ups and downs and always downs is when you really have to look at what's going on and the ways that you can change that.
Right.
Yeah, it is finding that baseline, right? Cliff, what you said was very wise. Every day is not the same in the variables that come at you. But I'll tell you, I pinch myself every day. These are extra innings for me. Like, these are bonus days. Daughters don't like to hear me say that, but I live my life a certain way. And the fact that I get to partner and work at UF Health, this amazing team. I used to run the largest pediatric group here in Northeast Florida, and about 27 providers, 30,000 patients. And I'll tell you what, this team that we work with here, providers and clinical staff, they are second to none. And I have to brag a little bit. So of the 6 TBI centers in the Avalon Action Alliance, we do rank number 1 in those patient-reported outcome measures.
Nice. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great,
awesome.
great.
And so it is that they can find the website at UF Health Jackson Leon L. Haley Junior MD Brain Wellness Program. So that's ufhealthjax.org, right?
Yes.
I got Ron's card right here.
Yes.
Ron always gives me like a stack of cards. I'm like, hey.
And I'll put the link to the application site in
Okay.
our.
Yeah, put it in the chat and then we can put it on
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, there it is right there. He just stuck it out there.
But the link for the application, that's a big deal. Especially all our veterans that need to know what a TBI is or that want to do that 3-day screening to see if they qualify for that intensive care.
Yes. On the 3-day screening, is it a initial phone call where they call and then is that initial phone call, or how does that work for somebody who calls for the very first time?
Great question. So they can come through our website, QR codes, call.
Okay.
So there's an initial, very simple intake survey
Sure.
that is completed. I just put the link in the chat box. And they fill that out, and then what our intake coordinator will do, will reach out and start to coordinate that intake process. It's more the administrative on the front side. Once we have all the records, an information gathering session is done with a licensed clinical social worker. It's our clinical navigator, which is about 45 minutes to an hour. Really looks at your records, confirms some key items around having a TBI, really also ensuring that the patients are stable enough to come through the 3-day. And it's then determined with the medical director and the clinical decision team who comes in. And then that's when the magic starts to happen, Cliff.
So if you have a VA person comes in who maybe has or has not done their VA all thoroughly, do you guys help them if they're going back to get reevaluated for the VA rating?
We do not get involved.
Do you guys have a VA rep there that can help with that, or do you guys just say, hey?
That we do. Yes, we have a VA liaison that's actually here on staff with us. She handles 3, I believe, of our Avalon Action Alliance TBI centers. She will help them, acquire those records pretty quickly. We do not get involved, and we are not, first, the veteran has to give us permission to release information.
Sure. No. If you have a VA rep there, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
That's
We get
it begins and ends with that.
but we don't get involved with the level of disability, that piece.
Well, because as as somebody, because when I went to the TBI clinic, they went way down the rabbit hole with medical stuff with me that I never would have even thought about,
Really?
going through my VA rating stuff and stuff. And it was all through their testing, their experience and stuff. And so, I think for a veteran who, whatever you rated at, doesn't matter. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today, but I'm just saying that it's important to, when you go to do something new medically wise, that has been service related, but you haven't filed yet for the VA, it's important to know that you have that relationship where you can get those records and say, hey, I am being tested here for this, and they are doing that. And I know veteran service officers out there can help also, but also it helps with inside your facility if you have that VA representative.
That's correct. Yeah. We do. We Ron laughs at me. I have an acronym I've used in business on my professional career. It's called ETDBW, easy to do business with. That's what kind of our philosophy here. I know what it's like to have a TBI. And so going through the paperwork, it can be frustrating.
Sure.
It can be confusing, but Deidre McKinney is second to none when it comes to the intake coordinator and making that process easier.
Well, I want to say, as we start wrapping up the show, I want to thank both you, Ron and Steve, both for coming on. I want to thank UF Health for what they do, not only for veterans but the service for the community out there in whole. It's very important, because TBI is a silent injury. It's not a visible injury. People don't see it. If you look at me, I'm a very healthy guy at 55. My whole point when I turned 50 was to be ripped in my 50s, and I'm ripped, and I'm proud of that fact, and I work hard to stay that way. But they don't know the invisible version of me. They don't know of my unaliving event. They don't know about my PTSD. And the same with Lynn. She's a very beautiful woman, and people don't know all the injuries and things that she suffered and things. And the same thing with you guys. You guys are good looking guys, and I don't know, Ron, you in the Air Force, so I don't think you struggle too much. I got. He told me not to make you laugh, so I had to get one zinger in there.
Stuff like that.
You almost made it.
I know. All right. But hey, even since I am the outreach coordinator, for you guys out there, if you may not have a TBI, you may not have any problems at all, but I guarantee you have friends, battle buddies that are having issues. Just tell them to give us a call. That's it. Because once they do that, they can start the process. And then, like Steve said, to go through that 3-day assessment, because a lot of our patients, they've had these TBIs, but they've never reported it. They've never been treated. So we have to do the assessment to see where our baseline is. And that's one of the remarkable things about our program too, is that it doesn't have to be service related. You don't need a doctor to have to say you have a TBI or I need to refer you to this program. You just have to say, I have some problems wrong with me. I was hit in the head and I need some help. And then just give us a call.
That's a great point to leave on too, is I think a lot of people, don't understand that. It's just to give a call to the experts, they'll help you out any way you can. But with that, as I said earlier on the show, I had the QR code in the upper left-hand corner as we close out for Reach Across America. It's a great way to memorialize those veterans who have passed on. And you can also do a personalized one if you want. Now, I am still associated, even though I'm in Italy, to the Arlington Cemetery in Virginia. But if they oversell Arlington Cemetery, they do distribute those wreaths all across America, unless you personally made it for a person, and obviously that wreath's going to go on that memorial site. But hey, with that, Reach Across America replays my podcast, Brian and Lynn's podcast, at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. Super easy to find, just like I said early on. Just download the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, or the Odyssey app, and search for Reach Across America Radio, for not only my and Lynn's great podcast, but all the great podcasts they have. And I want to say a huge thank you to both Steve and Ron for coming on the show. You see, I'm getting tired, so I'm having a hard time talking. For coming on the show. And Lynn, I'm going to let you go ahead and close this out. And hey, anytime you guys want to come back on the podcast, you guys hit us up and come back on. You guys have been great.
Thank you so much, Cliff.
And it's an important conversation to have. And I want to say personally to Steve, to you, for sharing your story of your TBI, because when you talk about a not visible injury, it's not always easy to do, but you never know who you're going to help out there by telling that story. And we know personal stories always resonate the best with people out there. So I want to say thank you for that. Lynn, go ahead and close us out.
I guess Ron and Steve for coming on the show. Definitely going to have you on again because it's a very important conversation to have. Mm-hmm. If you're listening, make sure to check out the ufhealthjacks.org, and then we put the the link to the applications on our chat boxes as well. So if you don't have that, hit us up on social medias. We'll give you that link. Check out www.VeteranTrashTalk.com. On there, you can find all our cool merch and all our good podcasts on there. And just remember to take care of yourselves out there.
Oh yeah, and before we sign off, remember I still got my Mental Health Warrior book still available on my website. There you go. My green screen's taking it out. So it's available for sale. So if you order through my website, I will sign it and mail it out to you. But you can also get it through Barnes & Noble, Amazon, or wherever you get your details, my unaliving event, and the work I did on 9/11. But hey, with that, once again, Ron, Steve, thank you. I want to wish everybody out there a great week. It is spring break for us coming up, so super excited. But hey, spring can be a rough time for people, and I always close out with this because it's so very important. With everything growing new again and stuff, and it's a hard time for people who's not in a good area, good space, mind space. So reach out to that family or friend who maybe got quiet or maybe not having, such a good time. And, it's always important not just to say how you're doing, but have a follow-up question, because sometimes it's that follow-up question that's really going to make that connection with them and maybe just make them feel a little bit better. So with that, everybody take care, and we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Len.
See ya.